We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides.
Last year, we saw the erroneously named Summer of Love spill out across mostly Democrat-led states in a flurry of violence and lawlessness. The police were hamstrung by cries of defund and accountability for racial justice. But what did it achieve? Like awakening from a bad hangover, cities across the country have found that their actions during that time have come back to haunt them, and none more so than Austin, Texas. Now, Liberty Nation editor-in-chief Lisa K. Donner has been following the story closely, and we're very, very lucky to have her on board today. Welcome, Lisa.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm not too shabby. Care to give us a rundown of what's been happening in Austin, Texas?
Well, last year, the brilliant minds on the City Council of Austin, Texas, decided to take away $150 million from the police department budget.
What could possibly go wrong?
Exactly. So crime has gone up. Shocker, I know. As my husband and our Liberty Nation senior political analyst always says, one step thinking.
One step thinking, indeed. So they've had the crime rates go up, and now what's happening? What's the latest news?
All right, well, let's just delineate that. One of the Austin TV stations talked about comparing this year to date with 2017. Homicides are up 200%. I think I have the statistics here. Car theft up 77%. Assaults 36%. So this is a massive crime wave. This isn't just a little thing. I mean, people are really nervous. They're buying firearms for self-protection. That does not, taking away $150 million from the police department budget means you have to take away 911 for a lot of things. I mean, so they're telling people to dial 311 now.
So 311 is for something that you don't believe is life-threatening. Is that about right?
Right. So let's say there's a car accident with no injury, or maybe two people are fighting, but here's the thing. I think Americans are pretty conditioned that when there's an emergency, their brain fires 911. I mean, that's just the way it operates. I can't imagine people thinking, oh, what am I supposed to dial here? What's that number again? I mean, 311?
Yeah, there's a similar situation in the United Kingdom where all emergency calls used to be routed through 999, which is our equivalent of 911. But now they've got for non-urgent hospital emergencies, they have a different number. And sad to say, I don't know what that number is off the top of my head. So if I don't know it, I'm sure many others don't. So
well, that's my point exactly. That's exactly right. I mean, how are people going to remember, oh, no, I'm not supposed to call 999, like as you said in the UK. I'm supposed to call what?
Exactly. Now, let's talk about what actual impact this is going to have on real people. So they have less police officers now, or there's a proposition going out, I believe it's called Proposition A, to hire more police officers per person. But that's about to get voted down, I think, because George Soros, of all people, the billionaire philanthropist and best friend to every left-leaning cause known to man, has decided to chuck $500,000 behind defeating it. What's that about?
Okay, I don't think it's fair to say that it's going to be defeated. I mean, he has put down $500,000, and we know that George Soros has really been trying to influence the criminal justice system in America. He's had several successes for getting DAs elected, most famously the liberal, very liberal DA in Philadelphia. But Proposition A basically says what the national federal government has said for years, which is 2 officers per 1,000 people. In other words, we can't go lower than that. And what's happening is the recidivism rate is really bad. And a lot of the officers are quitting or retiring early, and they don't have a police academy anymore. So, and it takes 2 years to get somebody up to speed to become a policeman.
Well, let's be fair, Lisa. After the 6th movie, that was just a no-go anyway. But yeah, so 2 officers per 1,000, that doesn't seem unreasonable. Now, far be it from Liberty Nation Radio to ever only present one side of the argument. The alternative is social workers. This is what's being promoted by, let's be honest, they're Democrat-led city councils around the country. They're asking for social officers or welfare workers to intercede so a situation doesn't become either criminalized or something that involves police presence. Now, my question, Lisa, is precisely how many social workers will die or get beaten before they decide this is a bad idea?
Well, this is a really bad idea. I can't imagine social workers wanting to go on the scene. And if you look at it, things like domestic violence calls, they tend to end in violence a lot. I mean, I don't have the statistic in front of me, but we've seen, was it in Chicago recently? I'm not sure what city it was, where the police officer pulled someone over, just a traffic stop, and just got blown away.
Yeah, these kind of things, they don't lend themselves to somebody who's got a degree in social sciences rather than somebody who's spent, and this is another part of Proposition A, I believe, is that it's further another 40 hours worth of training for the police officers. So people who are not trained in controlling a suspect, putting a suspect on the ground without using lethal force, these are serious things that I just can't see how serious people can consider these sensible solutions that will result in, let's be fair, saving lives.
Well, you take the firearms out of the law enforcement and correction hands, but who's taking the firearms out of the hands of the perpetrators?
Beto O'Rourke, apparently.
Yeah. When he gets rid of all our AR-15s, there'll be no more crime in America. Yeah, right.
So, Lisa, what is the solution?
Rudy Giuliani, way back when New York was really violent, he had the idea that little crimes lead to big crimes. And so he nailed people for little crimes. And lo and behold, what happened? New York City became a much safer place to live.
Yeah, it's called the broken window theory. And there's a lot of statistical data to back up that it's absolutely a working proposition. However, recent let's call it narrative and spin from certain left-leaning news outlets have tried to cast aspersions on the idea of the broken window theory because they don't want small crimes punished because they see it as more of a racial justice issue because the more people that are arrested for it, they end up in prison, and they see that as over-criminalizing the world.
Well, it's interesting because now the New York Post had an interesting couple interesting paragraphs on this, and our own Joe Schaefer wrote about it in an article called "George Soros Adds to Austin Police Shortage Woes." So what we're doing is we're forget the little crimes. We're not even putting people away for big crimes. So he writes, this is from the New York Post. With 46 arrests for retail theft this year alone, this man of steel, STEAL, leads New York's record-shattering shoplifting surge. There's another guy, Isaac Rodriguez, 22, is called Sir Isaac Luton, the supervillain of heists. Then there's the King of Queens thieves, which have been arrested 57 times this year alone, including a vicious stabbing. If you're going to arrest these people and then just put them out on bail, they're going to keep doing what they're doing. Where is the deterrent?
Well, the one solution to that, Lisa, as Vice President Kamala Harris points out, is to end bail. Therefore, they don't have to pay bail before they're back out on the streets. So,
well, if you don't put anybody in jail for perpetrating crimes, the crime rate's going to go up.
Words of wisdom, words of fact from Lisa K. Donner, editor-in-chief of LibertyNation.com. Many thanks for being here, Lisa.
Thanks, Mark.
Coming up soon on the show, we'll be joined by Carrie Lukes of the Independent Women's Forum to tackle the critical race theory narrative wedded to the American school system. We'll be asking all the tough questions, but next, we're asking where the battle to make Washington, D.C. the 51st state is heading. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to Liberty Nation Radio, heard across the Radio America network from our flagship station in the nation's capital, WWRC in Washington, D.C. I want to say thank you to you for listening and give a special shout out to those of you listening on KBKW 103.5 FM, the talk of Grays Harbor, Washington. We dismiss history at our peril.
Liberty Nation Radio with Mark Angelides. Who are we? We are Americans that believe in liberty. We are a project of the nonprofit One Generation Away. We are patriots who apply the founding principles to the issues of today.
And they keep moving the goalposts on us.
We are educators and commentators who love America and the Constitution. Who are we? We are Liberty Nation.